guys, it's Alice and today it's time for my June book haul. Before we start though, we have got a sponsor for this video. This is sponsored by Book Depository, which I use all the time, and if you've ever been in the description boxes of any of my videos, you'll know that I always use links to them because they just have everything. I think they have something crazy like 20 million books to choose from, and they have free shipping worldwide, which is pretty great. And you guys know that I sometimes read kind of weird and obscure books, and I can always find them on there. And also, sometimes I'm like looking for a book in a particular edition because I care about that, and they usually have it, which is pretty darn great. They also sell books in several languages, although I only ever get books in English from them because I can't read French or Spanish or German, but still, I think that's pretty cool. Anyways, let's get on to the books that I got. The first two I got to pick from Book Depository for free, and I picked two that I'm really excited about. The first one I was so excited about that I read the minute it came in the mail, and it is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This is a mystery thriller that you may have seen around because it's just been everywhere. And the story is about this psychotherapist who becomes obsessed with the case of a woman who shot and murdered her husband and hasn't spoken a single word in the 6 years since. Like I said, I've already read this, and I actually made a vlog about this book as well as two other books that I'm going to show you later that I will link to in the description. The second book that I got was The Mars Room by Rachel Kushner. This is contemporary literary fiction, and all I really know is that it's about this woman who goes to prison for life. And I think it sort of chronicles life inside of this prison, and I don't think I've ever read any book with that type of setting, and I just thought it could be really interesting. Moving on to the books that I got myself, we have Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. This is set in a small town in Virginia, and it's about a group of these people who are at this special treatment center, and while they're there, something happens that causes the death of some of them, and then it turns out that it wasn't an accident like they initially thought. This is a book that I've wanted to read since it first came out, so I'm really happy that I finally have a copy of it. Next, we have got the other two books that I also had in that reading vlog that I mentioned, and the first one is I'll Never Tell by Catherine Mackenzie. This is set in Canada, and it's set at this camp where in the beginning of the story, a group of siblings gather because their parents who ran the camp have sadly passed away, and they're trying to figure out what to do with this camp, as well as trying to figure out what happened to a girl who was at this camp 20 years earlier and something horrible happened to her. The second one is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This is about a live-in nanny who ends up in jail because she has been accused of causing the death of one of the kids she was supposed to look after, which is very exciting. And if you like mystery thrillers, I would really recommend this one. It was very, very good. Then we have got a dystopian novel called The Farm by Joanne Ramos. This is about an institution where women can go and have everything provided for them as long as they produce a healthy baby for the institution's wealthy clients, which sounds super weird, and I don't think they're allowed to leave at all while they're there, and everything is like monitored or surveilled, and it sounds really creepy but also very intriguing. I then got a book that isn't something I would normally read, but I just saw this really amazing review on Instagram and I thought I would give it a go, and it is Next Year in Havana by Chanel Cleeton. This is historical fiction romance, and as most of you will know, I usually don't read romance novels, but I feel like every once in a while it's good to just give a genre you usually don't like a go, just to sort of check. This is set in 1950s Havana, I think, and it's about this woman who I think travels back to Cuba, and I'm assuming she meets someone. Next, we have got this beautiful book called The Story of a Goat by Perumal Murugan. I mean, how can you not want to read a book that looks like this? I'm pretty sure this is set in India, and it's set on this rural farm, and I think we get to read from the perspective of a goat, which I'm really into. I think that sounds amazing. Then we have got The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. Honestly, I picked this up mostly because so many of you have told me I needed to read this. I actually have another book by John Boyne on my shelves that I'm actually currently reading. It's A Ladder to the Sky. And when I'm done with that, I'm gonna read this. I'm pretty sure it's set in Ireland and it's about this boy who is adopted and he's trying to figure out who he is. And I feel like I've heard other people say that we follow this man throughout his whole life. And so many of you have told me I'm gonna love this, so I'm very excited. Another beautiful book we have is The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nevo. This is a fantasy novella, and I don't remember where I heard about this, but I feel like I either read or saw an amazing review of it. It's set in a place that is reminiscent of Imperial China, and we meet a woman who is set up for a political marriage, but then we also get to know her handmaiden. And I don't know, I just think it sounds amazing. I'm not gonna look more into it because it's such a short book, but there's something about this that just makes me desperate to read it. Second to last, we have got The 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak. This is fiction and historical fiction. It's one of those books where we follow two different perspectives. We follow one person in contemporary times and then we follow another person, I think in the 13th century. And the contemporary perspective follows a woman who works as a literary agent, and she becomes mesmerized by something she's working on that relates to this historical perspective. The reason I got this book is because I read another book by Shafak earlier this year and I really liked it, and I asked you guys if you had any recommendations for what else to read by her, and so many of you said that this was amazing, so I'm sure that it is. Lastly, we have got Kim Yi-young, born 1982 by Chu Nam-yul. This is a contemporary fiction novel and it's translated from Korean, and the story says it's about a woman's psychic deterioration in the face of rigid misogyny. And apparently this caused quite a ruckus when it came out in Korea, and it deals with a lot of feminist issues and it just sounds amazing. Okay guys, those are all the books that I had to show you today. Again, thank you to Book Depository for sponsoring this. I will leave a link to their website in the description, as well as links to all the books that I mentioned, which I always do anyway. I'd love to know if any of you guys have picked up any exciting new books lately, or if you've read any of the books that I mentioned, and I will see you soon. Bye!